Thank you, Venturous Group, for inviting me to talk about a favorite topic, Metaverse. Happy to see such a great turnout today. I guess it's a testament that this topic is both intriguing, but also perhaps a bit confusing. So my name is Jonas Pinzke. I run a brand marketing and business consultancy in Singapore. So let me share my screen so we can get started here. Metaverse. So this is really a session about how to prepare for the virtual world of tomorrow. Far most common question I hear about the Metaverse, and it's often asked in quite skeptical voices, is this really going to be that big? And my answer is always the same. No, it's not going to be big. It actually already is. And for those who have school-age kids, may already know what I'm going to talk about. Fortnite, right? Sounds familiar. Most of our kids have spent a few hours a week in this game. But to give you an introduction, Fortnite is a major platform, already using aspects of Metaverse. It has a record-breaking of 350 million users, with 80% being between 18 and 30 years old. And every month, some 80 million players enter this online world to have the avatars fight to become the last man standing. Fortnite is totally free to download and play. But last year, the company had a revenue of a staggering 5.1 billion US. The income, to a large extent, comes from sales of equipment and clothes, or skins as they called, for your avatar, which you buy using a currency called V-Bucks as a special Fortnite currency. So when I say that Fortnite gives us an idea what the Metaverse will be, I'm primarily talking about three important pieces. One, it's an online virtual world with a sizable community to socialize and interact with. Second, users of avatars, which enable you to exist and interact in this virtual world. And lastly, the unique currency that you can only use in this virtual world. Now, with such a large community that obviously has money to spend, companies are taking notice. Some of the world's biggest brands and artists are lining up to collaborate with Fortnite. In August last year, Ariana Grande did a 3-day virtual tour in Fortnite, seen by an audience of 27 million people, or avatars. With Fortnite giving her total creative control, the audience could experience quite a trippy, celestial version of Ariana Grande's imagination. And many of these 27 million viewers use their V-Bucks, the Fortnite currency, to buy the new Ariana Grande skin for their avatars. So with access to this kind of audiences, entertainment companies are now reevaluating their touring strategies to adapt to a whole new way of consuming live music. So instead of costly production of a world tour with months of traveling, artists can offer virtual yet live ticketed event reaching millions of people at the same time. And just a few weeks later, Balenciaga, one of the world's most trailblazing fashion brands, did their own limited edition collection to dress your Fortnite avatar. And select pieces of that online collection was also available in physical store, with a Fortnite logo sweatshirt retailing for $2,200 US. The version of the virtual one was sold for a modest $32. But taking into account the total addressable market of 350 million avatars, you can see the potential. And I think this is a good example of how the physical and the virtual customer experience is now merging. Another brand, Wendy's, the fast food chain, they wanted to reach a younger audience. But rather than interrupting their target group's entertainment with ads, which you normally kind of end up doing, the company decided to be the entertainment. So under the campaign slogan, "Keeping Fortnite Fresh," a custom-made Wendy's avatar went around destroying all beef freezers in the game to promote the company's use of fresh beef. And this Wendy destroying in-game freezes was watched for more than 1.5 million minutes on a streaming service called Twitch. 1.5 million minutes. You can just imagine the airtime and that the advertising cost would that be. So that again, the total addressable market and the investment you do, it's scaled. Another example of how the metaverse is manifesting today is Roblox. Now, Roblox is not a game in itself, but a platform with over 40 million virtual experiences, which many of them are games. And it's used by more than 260 million registered users. 67% of Roblox users are under 16, so a much younger demographic compared to Fortnite. But most valuable, right? We're talking about 16 and under, 67%, a core demographic for many companies and brands. Like Fortnite, you have a metaverse aspect of an online community, the use of an avatar, and a unique currency, in this case, a Robux. With Roblox, companies can connect with their target group by collaborating with one of the platform's popular games, such as Adopt Me, which you can see here, or build their own virtual game, adding to the growing catalog. So similar to Fortnite, fashion companies are taking notice, and Gucci both has its own game and virtual world in Roblox. A previous initiative made headlines when a player bought a virtual handbag for their avatar for a staggering $4,200 US. Which is $1,000 more than the in real life version. Just take notice that this is not an NFT and it can't be resold and used anywhere else than in Roblox. But it gives us an idea about the importance for some users to style their avatar, the digital version of themselves. Nike has set up a Nike Land. It's a gamified experience and a store, but not only for the average Roblox user, but also for Nike's employees to meet, to hang out during virtual coffee breaks, a meeting space instead of the water cooler that you used to go to, you hang out in Roblox. And Nike also brought the Roblox experience to their flagship stores in New York City, where customers could access the virtual world using VR glasses. And again, merging the physical and the virtual customer experience. What might have started as consumer experiences are now being adopted by business-to-business companies. Amazon Web Services are doing demos for enterprise clients using their Roblox platform to visualize their offering. So these are just some examples of how aspects of metaverse can be experienced today. But this is, of course, just the start. So in order to get an idea of where we're going, let's go back to the very, very beginning. Now, the term metaverse has its origin from the 1992 science fiction novel Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And in the novel, people used digital avatars of themselves to explore the online world as a way of escaping out of a dystopian reality. So very much similar to how we now, 30 years later, are describing the metaverse. After Snow Crash, the term metaverse didn't really receive much attention until October 2021 last year. So that's when Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, changed the name of the parent company to Meta and announced that the company would be focusing on metaverse. So in a few hours after the name change, the relatively obscure term metaverse was one of the most searched words on Google. And soon after, my agency started to get requests about what is this? How can I as a company do more? And how should I react and act into this new realm? So Bloomberg recently predicted that by 2024, the metaverse will be an $800 billion market. And we're going to see a spending and much more over the next couple of 5 to 10 years. So today we're going to spend some time to answer a few questions that might be relevant to this. First, what is the current form of the metaverse and what will it look like in the immediate future? Which technologies and companies are involved in designing and building the metaverse? What are examples of companies in various industries that are active in metaverse and why have they chosen to get involved? And then discuss possible strategies and steps for companies to take today to take advantage of metaverse further down the road. But to understand the metaverse, I would like to start from the very, very beginning and bring it into a bigger context. Let's go back about 30 years when we first started to use the internet and the World Wide Web was established. So Web 1 was limited to read-only, static web pages, one-way communication, and search. Then in the beginning of the 2000s came Web 2.0, which enabled read and write, meaning you could interact with others, which was amplified by mobile internet and social media. One important distinction is that Web 2.0 is centralized, meaning you have a number of companies owning and controlling the data and its performance, which just brings its own set of challenges. For example, last year when Facebook had an outage for 6 hours, no one could access their WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram, or Facebook accounts. Now we're heading into the next version of the internet, Web 3.0 or Web 3. And the biggest difference is that it will be decentralized, meaning we will all be able to access the services and application we need to do it without any intermediaries. The reason Web 3, unlike the internet we know today, can be decentralized is because it will be built on blockchain. And we don't have time to cover all aspects of blockchain today, but let's go through some of the basics. So blockchain is a digital record of data that can't be changed, right? And the data records are stored in multiple places on a computer network, making it open, accessible, transparent, and safe. And with blockchain, you as an individual can have a digital ownership of data. Hence, you can buy, own, sell this data, whether it's for an image, an app, or a product. So this is one of the biggest advantages of Web3. Today, Instagram, Facebook, and so on, to a large extent, owns our data, which of course is a huge privacy problem. So Web3 is decentralized and built on blockchain. Hence, the way we use Web3 will also be very much different. For example, the apps we all use today are owned and controlled by companies. With Web3 instead, we have so-called D-apps or decentralized apps, where information is peer-to-peer, totally transparent. We'll also have NFTs or non-fungible tokens. We will have both a virtual and augmented reality, as well as artificial intelligence. So you can really say that the Metaverse is the way we interact and experience things within Web 3.0. And if we were to define Metaverse, a simple translation would be a network of three-dimensional virtual world. A network of three-dimensional virtual world that uses AR, VR, blockchain, and social media to allow people to work, game, network in a more immersive way. So with this definition, it's quite clear that while Fortnite and Roblox uses aspects of Metaverse, they are quite rudimentary and they are still built on centralized gaming platforms. And the future application of Metaverse that currently are being developed, unlike Fortnite and Roblox, not based on a single platform. Three-dimensional virtual worlds such as Decentraland, Sandbox, Substrata are still built on blockchain. While not a total reality yet, the idea is that in the future, these different virtual worlds will be connected. You, through your avatar, can seamlessly travel between these worlds, similar to how you travel between countries and cities today. So let's start with Decentraland, which is the biggest three-dimensional world built on decentralized blockchain technology. Decentralized is very similar to any city or country in the way that you can buy, sell, and own land or plots. In November, a virtual real estate plot was sold for 600,000 mana, the unique Decentraland currency, which at that time was the equivalent to 2.4 million US. And just like any property investment, you can see this as a pure investment, or you could create your own virtual experience, such as a theme park, a shop, or any place that people want to socialize and experience things. Similar to an actual city, in the Decentraland, neighborhoods are developed to have different characteristics to attract visitors. This is, for example, the fashion district. A Chinese example is the Huaichai Shanghai, and has become the first commercial complex that wades into Metaverse in partnership with Decentraland. It's a complete replica of its shopping mall in Shanghai with extensive virtual experiences, creating boundless options for a younger generation. And this year, JP Morgan became the first bank to enter the Metaverse with its Onyx Lounge. And the reason behind the move was, as they say, to provide a foothold for the bank to explore its role in the digital world. And Morgan predicts that in time, the virtual real estate market could start seeing services much like the physical world, including credit, mortgages, and rental agreements. So again, they want to go in here to create a foothold for the bank to explore its role in the digital world. And Fidelity becomes the first brokerage firm to enter Decentraland. The Fidelity Stack, as it's called, features an Invest Quest, which is a gamified financial education. And this new experience launches alongside Fidelity's Metaverse ETF, which trades under the ticket FMET. But it's not only corporations and brands who are establishing themselves in these virtual cities and worlds. The island of Barbados will open the first virtual embassy in Decentraland this year. Another metaverse world that is currently being developed is Sandbox. The Sandbox is owned by Animoca Brands, a Hong Kong-based company backed by SoftBank and several other Asian investors. And today, currently, Sandbox is valued at $4 billion US. And very much like a Los Angeles neighborhood, Sandbox got recognition when a celebrity, in this case, artist Snoop Dogg, moved in. And Snoop Dogg built a replica of his mansion, inviting friends to exclusive virtual party. And now real estate prices nearby are skyrocketing, as more people are visiting, not only to catch a glimpse of Snoop Dogg, but maybe even catch and get invited to one of his parties. But for many of us, partying with Snoop Dogg may not be a priority. But let's say you're an investor and Warren Buffett announces that he will hold an annual by invitation only event, not only in Omaha, but also in Metaverse. Wouldn't you want to go? Wouldn't you want to meet Mr. Buffett and ask him a question directly? HSBC has become the latest financial institution to venture into Metaverse, acquiring virtual real estate in Sandbox. And they see this as a great potential to create new experiences and open up a world of opportunity for current and future customers, as they say. So whether you're going to an investor meeting, running bank errands, or attending a party, you want to look good in the Metaverse as well. That's why digital fashion boutiques are opening up to sell unique pieces of fashion to style your avatar. But unlike in the real world, you can be sure that what you buy isn't fake, because what you will be buying is an NFT. And an NFT is a non-fungible token, or a one-of-a-kind digital asset stored on the blockchain, giving the buyer digital ownership right, whether it's a fashion accessory, a digital piece of art, or even a company. And the best part, when you own it, you can resell it to any other interested consumer. Now, anyone can make an NFT, and you probably heard of 12-year-old Benjamin Ahmed, and his collection of weird whales made him $1 million US in less than a year. And another NFT collection that received a lot of attention last year was so-called Bored Ape Yacht Club. They made a set of 10,000 images, selling for as much as 800,000 US a piece. Well, while it's unclear if this is a good investment long-term, it's another example of how much curiosity there is about NFTs and the amount of money that currently is in this business. Even established auction houses such as Christie's are now doing NFT auctions. Here, another popular NFT collection called CryptoPunks was sold for 17 million US. While we don't know yet who will be the leading companies when it comes to Metaverse, we do know that big tech all over the world are working on investing in Metaverse-related technologies. So with his name change to Meta, Mark Zuckerberg is really doubling down on Metaverse. And previous actions show that it has been in its company's plan for quite some time. In 2014, Meta, then Facebook, acquired Oculus Rift, a VR goggle company, likely to prepare for more immersive experiences. And then since then, a number of other investments have been made in artificial intelligence and augmented reality. And last year, Mark Zuckerberg announced that Meta will commit $10 billion US annually on R&D related to Metaverse. Microsoft have made up until recently been focused on more work-related services and seem to continue to do so with exploring Metaverse application. One example is Mesh, an extension of Microsoft Teams, where you interact with your colleagues as avatars in conferences and meetings. But however, in January this year, Microsoft acquired gaming company Activision Blizzard for 69 billion US, the biggest deal ever in gaming. And suddenly Microsoft had a lot to say about Metaverse. And it clearly places a major bet that people will spending more and more time in the digital world. And you might also know that Microsoft have their own version of VR goggles called HoloLens. Apple, as usual, are keeping quite quiet about their strategy and the future launches. But CEO Tim Cook recently admitted that Apple sees a lot of potential in this space and are investing accordingly. Some Apple focus seems to be around augmented reality, and the company is rumored at least to launch its first AR/VR headset later this year. And this image, I have to say, is not official image from Apple, but probably part of that rumor. How about China then? Well, with a domestic market of 1.4 billion, China and Chinese companies are actively preparing for the metaverse. And Morgan Stanley recently estimated that the market value of the metaverse industry in China could reach up to $8 trillion US. Tech giants such as Tencent, Alibaba, Baidu are all investing and developing for the next generation of applications. Tencent, to begin with, is involved in all aspects of building the metaverse. They're developing and selling technology and solutions to companies as well as government. Japan and Korea, just to mention a few. They own major stakes in several global metaverse-related companies. For example, 40% of Epic Games, who runs Fortnite. And Tencent have created their own platforms and experience, of course. The latest edition is Super QQ Show, which is pictured here, which is a virtual avatar builder linked to Tencent's QQ Messenger. And for this app, they actually used Epic Games' Unreal Engine. Baidu is promoting Xirang platform. And I think they want to see that this becomes the enabler of the metaverse in China. So think of Xirang as a software as a service provider, but for metaverse, where developers and content creators can license or buy these capabilities to assist their metaverse projects, whether it's a gaming company or it wants to create a new metaverse game or a social networking app wanting to develop its product. NetEase and 4 other tech companies, together with local government, have established the Guangzhou Metaverse Innovation Association. And the aim is to accelerate the development of Chinese metaverse ecosystem and boost the region's digital economy. And what you see here is a vision of how the tourism industry could benefit on adopting virtual and augmented reality. And there are several examples how companies and governments are joining forces to develop more sustainable and livable cities using metaverse-related technologies. Companies like Arup and Tencent are providing digital twin software to buildings and cities all across China. So all of the above is really proof of China's metaverse strategy in action. Last year, China's 14th five-year plan specifically named blockchain, AR, VR, and cloud computing as keys to building China's digital economy. And in January this year, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology presented a plan to cultivate 3,000 startups in the fields of metaverse, blockchain, and AI. So we've only seen the beginning of the metaverse in China. And most likely, we will have 2 parallel metaverses. One that is global and one that is China, similar to what is happening with the web today. Now, while it's true that many of today's tech giants hold a dominant role in the market today, we know very little about tomorrow. Even though companies such as Tencent, Epic Games, and Unity Software are developing the metaverse as we speak, I believe that the biggest metaverse companies may not yet have been found. So if you're interested in metaverse and investing in such, there are a few possible options, of course. One of the more accessible ones is the Metaverse ETFs. Most available ETFs have gathered companies within various sectors related to Metaverse, including computing, networking, virtual platforms, and so on. And Roundhill Investments launched the very first Metaverse ETF in July last year. And since early this year, several other investment companies have followed. One of them, which I mentioned earlier, is Fidelity. What's interesting to know about this comparison you see here is that 80% of Roundhill's portfolio is US company. That's the green line, right? Whereas Fidelity's, the yellow one, have 43% Asian companies. And perhaps that's partially can explain the difference in performance. While there's little doubt that Metaverse is going to be a vital part of our future, it may still be unclear what I, as an individual, or we as a company can do today to make the most out of this new opportunity that is arising. I think for consumer-oriented brands wanting to address a younger audience, Metaverse is really offering opportunities to engage with their target group in a new and a more immersive way. And short term, you could see that this as an additional brand and marketing channel, as well as learning opportunities. Long term, Metaverse can enable new revenue stream and new business areas. However, for business to business company, the opportunity might be not as obvious today, but the prospect for the future are, on the other hand, much larger. Metaverse will change the way we meet, demo, review, sell, interact, and do business overall. And it will enable more immersive ways to collaborate, which will change the way we interact with clients as well as with coworkers. So to conclude some of what I've been talking about today, what I want to say is that don't judge the book by its cover. What I mean by that, for business to business companies or companies working with products that are not FMCG or fashion, don't let the current experience or apps discourage you. This rather cartoonish image I have shown today is just one rudimentary version of the Metaverse. I would be a mistake to refrain from investing in Metaverse knowledge and expertise because of it. The Metaverse will affect us all, and how it will be done is being defined now and in the years to come. What we know is that this business transformation will become mandatory for any kind of company. Too big to fail. I think it's almost difficult to grasp the amount of brain power and money that is focused on Metaverse right now. As we've seen, some of the world's biggest companies and smartest people are currently concentrating on Metaverse technology and have been doing so for some time. And the industry has shown tremendous faith, not only in the active companies, but in the Metaverse as a whole. Important of perspective. While we may not know exactly how Metaverse will change how we live and do business, we still know that it will. In 5 to 10 years, we will all look back and scold ourselves that we didn't do more, unless we actually take action now. I believe it was Bill Gates who said, we always estimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. And I think he also said, don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. So you're not too late, you're actually right on time. And just because everyone is talking about NFTs, blockchain, crypto, Metaverse, don't think you're too late to the game. In fact, the future is being defined as we speak. And if you start now, you will be just on time, whatever you do. So if you make bad choices or mistake, well, you still be way ahead the guy who didn't do nothing because you have learned something. So what can I do here and now? And I think it's a good way to start. And really one I recommend to all clients is to start demystify Metaverse. So go ahead and educate yourself. Read up, subscribe to Metaverse newsletter, listen to a podcast, and then involve your team. Invite an expert to talk for an hour. Hold a Metaverse workshop for people to get curious. Then second step would be, when you have more knowledge, establish a point of view on how to relate to these emerging technologies. Establish a strategy on how your company could relate to Metaverse. And involve outside expertise. Ask the right question and challenge yourself when needed. And after that, start connecting. Get feedback on what you've done. Communicate. Define a Metaverse marketing and communication strategy. And again, find resources outside to really push yourself beyond. And lastly, when you're ready, try out and start experiment. Do a small project. Find suitable partners to collaborate with. So today we've seen a snapshot really of what's happening in and around the Metaverse today. And there's also a lot more to be said and discussed, of course, and things are evolving quickly. So if I could provide one advice today, is to start now, if however small, because the future is being defined as we speak. That's it for my presentation. I'll be happy to hear more about your thoughts and perhaps concerns.
Hi, Thank you, Jonas, for the presentation. It was very interesting. How, in your introduction, you were saying that Web3 will be decentralized. And then at the end of the presentation, we saw, Apple, Microsoft, Tencent, which are, I guess, very opposed to this idea. So how are you going to see the future, with these two completely different view of how to cope with the data of the users will evolve?
It's a very good question. I think everyone is actually trying to figure out how this will be work in the future. I mean, the whole idea of Web3 is that it's open, transparent, and decentralized. And of course, this is a challenge for media corporation, where the whole business model is that they own and control data, right? So I think it will be probably a merge between Web 2 and Web 3 in the sense that you will have a closed platform that are kind of running inside of Web 3, where you can go in and out. So I think there will be a merge between the two kind of web iterations, but it will be a problem for many companies to kind of venture into this new realm, because they need to adapt in order to open up their services and products for consumers that are kind of tired to have their entire data owned by someone else than themselves. Because one of the major things about Web3 is that it's really a creator economy. For me as a creator, or for me as having valuable data, I can start trading it and get money for it, rather than giving away to a company for them to trade my data to someone else. And while we experience this, and there's becomes platforms and services that helps me to do that, to own my own data and trade it or sell it if I want to, I think that we will have such a great pressure to many companies that are doing that today in order to start becoming a little more open in terms how they interact and relate to the consumers. But to your point, it's not solved today, and I think there will be probably Web 2 and Web 3 running in parallel.
And how do you see? Because we all know how Facebook, for example, is making money, from our data. But with Web 3, if it's decentralized, how the companies, are going to have a business model where they can have a profit at the end of the year?
No, I think it will be a shared profit, actually. I think there will be platform that helps creators or helps users in any kind of field to provide their service, or provide their data to the market and take a cut. And so there's a services that kind of enables this evolution rather than to guard it. That is one thing, and so you can see the NFT project where a platform, OpenSea today is valued for billions of US only trading and marketing NFTs, where they take a cut of every transaction, where the majority of the kind of the revenue goes to the creator and the one who's selling it still. So I think there will be new services, and I think also the really interesting thing is that we're having hard to really understand what the future applications will be. I mean, in the beginning of internet, we couldn't understand, Facebook or Instagram as services, because they weren't really in our realm, right? So many of us, myself including, we are still in Web 2 mode when looking at Web 3 and applying the Web 2 kind of perspective and lenses of services and product that can be developed. Well, there will be a totally kind of disruption in terms of that, where, as I said before, I think there are companies that are going to be huge and provide services and product that we really can't grasp today.
Maybe the last question. It's in that Web 2.0, companies most of them are listed. And it seems that, for Web 3 companies, the way to invest with them is not, via tokens or coins. And it seems that maybe going forward, fewer companies in the metaverse will be listed. And if you want to participate, to the companies, that you will have to buy, the token or coin.
I think it will be a mix. You can see some of the platform are listed, or some are at least you can invest with real money, so to speak. But yes, I think kind of the decentralized idea is also that you invest and become part of kind of manage the platform or together with many others. Again, this decentralized kind of idea. So it's not only about investing money, but it's also investing in creation of the platform, where you have this kind of the cryptocurrency and blockchain currency as a part of that. But I think there will be a mix. And I think also when things are stabilized in terms of the cryptocurrency and blockchain currencies, right now it's been very volatile. And I think we need some kind of stability and some kind of a regulation and government oversight in order to create some kind of a long-term trustworthiness that you actually can go in and see that this is a foreseeable investment. So I think there will be a mix, but there's a lot of things to be done specifically in crypto, I think.
Mr. Peter Bernard seems to have some questions. Do you want to, Jonas, could answer them?
Thank you. Yes, some comments and some questions as well, actually. So, I mean, by the way, this is the second Metaverse presentation I've attended today. So nobody can accuse me of not showing an interest, point number one. And point number two, it's obviously out there. You know, there are lots of people who are trying to understand Metaverse. And I think my sense is that the more revolutionary development is Web3, actually, rather than necessarily, and Metaverse is maybe a consequence of Web3. And that is really why organizations and businesses like Facebook are very challenged by this, and you know, are trying to reinvent themselves in the Metaverse and calling themselves Meta after all, because I think their business model, you know, your point is that we will be in control of our own data. And I thought the interesting thing that you pointed out was that Wendy advert, right? So that, you know, you don't need Facebook. Wendy doesn't need Facebook anymore. They can go directly with their games and advertise that way to their consumers. And it seems to me that that's probably the way kind of businesses will proceed, because you won't need these central intermediating businesses like Facebook and Google and others to direct you to the area that is of interest to you. So that's a comment and a question. And then the other question which I put in the chat was, I mean, why do people pay, was it 2.1 million for Jack Dorsey's first tweet? And it wasn't even his first tweet. It was the NFT, which is just a piece of coding. It's not actually the tweet. I can go on Google and find his tweet and look at it and put it on my Facebook page or put it on my WhatsApp, you know, and I'm not breaking the law. But and I think that was manifested also in, I can't remember the guy who did it, but he paid his 2.1 million and then tried to sell it, and the best offer he got was 60,000 and didn't sell it, right? So why do people pay up for NFTs, which are just a piece of coding? They're not even the asset themselves.
They, of course, good question. I think the first part here, I think you're absolutely right. Facebook is struggling, and it wasn't a coincidence that they kind of renamed the parent company to Meta. I think the business model is one, but primarily when they see their core target group, their core demographic, like a younger target group, we're talking Gen Z and even younger, they're not on Facebook. They're not using Facebook. I mean, the new customer segment that they're tapping into are like the 60, 70-year-olds that's like want to connect with their families using Facebook. So the younger target group had discarded Facebook because Facebook doesn't add anything to their world. That's rather you're talking about there's more messages within Roblox being sent every day. There's the new communication channels such as Discord that's grown up to become much more important in younger consumers' life than Facebook and so on. So in order to tap into the next generation consumers, they needed to become much more present where they are. And I think that's where they're now focusing much more on kind of virtual interaction with gaming as a core of that. But then again, because that delivers something of an experience, that delivers something of a connection, rather than having a platform that the only reason you're there is to connect, which you could do already in a game much more immersively so. And then for the NFT, well, I think there's two things. I mean, the same thing with art. I mean, art, you can buy art because you think it's beautiful. You can buy art because it's a good investment. But really, art it's a kind of a promise of a future, and you build a brand about an artist or its work, and you can kind of hope that it's positioned right so it increases over time. And I think this is the same thing with NFTs, because it has this ownership of a code, yes, and hence you can track the origin and the ownership of it. But also what's interesting is if you buy it and you sell it, or you rather if you create it as a creator and you sell it, for all foreseeable future, you have a part of that revenue coming into you. So artists and creators have kind of better ownership of their creations. And you can see dating from its origin to its where it's at, how the different development has been done. So it's very open and transparent. And you can't really, where it's not really when you can buy proper art, so to speak. Now, what's been made very, very complicated in the last kind of year is that it's NFTs, you kind of, they're exposed to two things. One is the value of its NFT itself in terms of, is this future value, is this interesting, does it have kind of the appeal over time, is it a good investment? And then of course you have the currency, like the cryptocurrency, that is also very kind of unstable. So them two together makes it very odd and very hard to see, does this really have that value over time? So I think unfortunately, crypto has made a bad name for blockchain, and NFT is rather part of the blockchain than part of the crypto, I would say, because the blockchain itself has great aspects and great values, but the currency has made it a bit of a messy.
Got it. Thank you. And by the way, thank you, Jonas. I didn't say right at the beginning, I thought it was a really, really good presentation. Part of my journey to understand this better.
Right on.
Thank you for Peter's question. We have another question in the group chat actually. So this question goes to say, very often the price and value of commodities are driven by scarcity. So how do we actually know that land, is it limited in Decentraland or Sandbox? And how does the prices actually differ from time to time, since there's no sort of scarcity, and Decentraland and Sandbox, they are always limitless in a sense?
I think it has the same kind of structure or idea and process as blockchain. When you or cryptocurrency, like this is a finite amount of pieces that we're gonna kind of offer, and it becomes a value based on that. But then, of course, you could add on to that and create a new world or new dimension, which has its own kind of new set of kind of definition in terms of this, the amount of space or the amount of plots. So it's really, I think, but what makes it somewhat better right now is because you can track it. It's still available and it's transparent because it's built on blockchain. So you can see the transaction, you can see the amount, and based on that, you can kind of see if it's valuable or not for me to go in and invest. And you can also see the more people and more companies that are investing in plots in a certain area or company, you want to be part of that, because that will over time, gather more people and attract more consumers to that space, which makes the plots more valuable over time. So it really is as a property investment in any kind of city. You develop an area to attract people to go there, to kind of hang out, to do commerce and so on. And while you've done that, you come to the next neighborhood. So very similar to an actual property investment, I would say.
Yeah, this is my first lesson on Metaverse. So I'm trying to catch up to learn what it is. So it's very informative to me. And to me, it appears those platforms that you mentioned, Decentraland, Sandbox, aren't they also centralized? Like what we have nowadays, like Facebook, or Amazon, that people trade on Amazon or eBay.
Well, in the sense that they are a company that stands behind it and creating the service. That's absolutely true. But the thing is, like the entire premise is its openness, and it's the way you can interact and participate in kind of developing it and funding it, and but also help together to govern it, right? But it's true that it's a company behind it that has investments coming in to develop it to what it is and what it will be in the future. And the transactions, buying and selling land, well, initially, yes, they are investing in setting up the infrastructure where you sell land to kind of participants, but then the transaction between different participants is more or less solely between those within the game rather than the company itself. Whereas potentially a small percentage is going to the platform, depending on the platform you're using.
Yeah. Well, it was me who asked the earlier question about limited supply scarcity. Are we taking a leap of faith that they will have such certain number of plots, and let's say in the real world we know that there's only one Singapore, and of course land property prices in Singapore are going sky high. But in the virtual world, we can have another sandbox, another Castle Peak, another anything, right?
Yeah. True, it's a leap of faith. So I think everyone now is kind of looking at which platforms are going to be the ones that is worth investing in, right? Yep. So you have a few of those major ones. Decentraland and Sandbox has become two of kind of the bigger ones that has over time proven to be a stable investment. But you could also see, I see a certain trend now that because of crypto, because of the kind of volatile, you tend to go as a brand or company to do investments or collaboration with the closed platform, such as Fortnite on Roblox, because Roblox has well-functioned system, and you clearly know what you're buying yourself into. It has a rule of engagement and so on, but it's totally a closed platform. So it has its pros and cons. So, but I see if you don't want to be so venturous in the way of your investment, you risk too much. Well, then you could go into kind of those closer platforms that still offer an engagement with potentially your core target group. That's why you see a few of the banks, the major kind of fashion houses, and so on going into specific Roblox because it offers that opportunity.
Thank you, SC. Yeah, we have another question in our chat box. So it asks how to pick and buy land in the right metaverse. So PwC, HSBC, etc. has all went into the sandbox, but a sandbox 2 or a similar one could be created tomorrow. What would be your advice for financial institution? Do you think in the future there will be land specialized by topic? Example, finance, gaming, sports, etc.
It could very well be so. I mean, again, I think a few of the bigger platforms like Decentraland and Sandbox, you have a full range of companies today that are investing, right? Decentraland has probably a bit more, have come a bit further because of I guess, yeah, they're a little more available and had a little more kind of commercialized platform. Sandbox a little more creative. So depending on what company, what brand, and what kind of target group you're looking for, that will determine which platform you want to invest in. But over time, yes, I think there will probably be spaces or worlds specific for an interest group. That could be if you're interested in, let's say, in horses and racing. Well, then will probably be a kind of a world for that, and so on and so on. And of course, there will be those platforms that offers everything, and you might see duplicate. If you are a bank, you want to be in several different worlds to have maximum kind of footprint and be facing as many of your customers and consumers as possible. So I think there will be a mix about all of them. But I think that one of the bigger kind of things or issues to solve over time. And I think I touched upon it earlier, is that right now you can't really, with your avatar or your digital self, with all your assets, go from one platform to another, right? All your assets in Sandbox or Decentraland or in Fortnite and Roblox are connected to that specific platform right now. The interesting would then be like, how can you bring yourself with your digital self to from one platform to another, using your currencies, using your NFTs, using all your digital assets, and kind of transfer yourself seamlessly between the different worlds. And that is not something that is available today, but that will then make it much more easy to travel between different worlds, but also different interests.
Thank you, Jonas. So we'll take one last question. It asks, what's the relevance of Metaverse for with smart city?
I mean, smart cities is I mentioned one or two examples how Metaverse technologies is being used for like the virtual or the digital twins. I think this is a great example of how you can start building communities, building cities, building even countries where you can have a direct control over the things that's going on in terms of energy and even how people interact and are experiences the city and how they feel about their lives, and how a government or a company or can help to enhance that people's life, basically. So I think technology-wise, it has definitely relevance, but also when it comes to experiences, that we now can become much more meaningful experiences and meeting people in a virtual realm where we have physical restraints in terms of pandemics and others. And that's where I think the virtual and the physical city will emerge further down the line. So also the technology will merge.
Jonas, can I add my 2 cents worth?
Happy to hear it. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's a very good question between smart cities and Metaverse. I would say that Metaverse clearly is a virtual world, where smart cities is entirely anchored in the physical world. So your question is, how do they interconnect? And my answer is, first of all, that picture that Jonas showed, the Apple glasses. Okay, that's where the two worlds will meet. Because imagine you wear that glass, you will first of all see the physical world in front of you. And let's say we talked about some of the shops, right? Wendy's, you mentioned, and McDonald's. So what will happen is that the glasses, noting that Wendy's is in front, will start also to show a virtual reality image overlaid over the physical image. This is what we call mixed reality, MR. So this is between virtual reality and the real world that you see. And the interaction is right in front of the glasses. It will mix the two together. And of course, you as the user will choose which virtual world you want to see. And that's why the two will meet in the middle, in front of your glasses, in mixed reality. This is also, I would say, a 3D version of what is already happening in the internet world right now, which is that your sort of online things, for example, when you order from Deliveroo, from Grab, from Uber, okay, Uber Eat, okay, you are already doing online, offline. Online is when you deliver, you order the food, it then delivers to you in the real world. This online, offline is already merging in the current version of the internet. In the future version within the glasses, this physical reality and the virtual reality will also overlap right in front of you. So that's why to us, we are definitely monitoring it, because we think smart city and metaverse will merge just like online and offline is merging. So I want to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent, for your insight. So with that, I think we'll have come to the end of this discussion. So we're very happy to have every one of you join us today on this very interesting topic. And we hope to see you guys in our next session. Thank you, everybody.